All right, so what's the purpose of a process analysis essay? Well, process essays are another type whose name pretty much explains itself. They provide directions and guidance on how to do something. So it sounds very fancy to say, "Why, yes, I am writing a process analysis essay." Really, they're how-to guides or how-to essays. So why would you do this? Well, people need to know how to do things. I mean, we all do. The process analysis essay explains step by step how something has happened or how to make something happen again. This provides opportunities to copy the process to analyze how it occurred or to make plans for the future. So you look at how something happened and you explain to someone how it happened and, of course, how they can make it happen again. Well, I hope that at least sounds pretty useful, but where might you actually apply it? Well, in academia, process exposition is a key component of scientific writing. You're communicating the results of experiments, lab reports, and whatnot. Historical study also uses it in a way similar to cause and effect. You might also use it with, drum roll please, teaching. To a certain extent, what I'm giving you right now is a process analysis. The rest of the world uses it quite a bit too. Process analysis is the heart of most technical communication and technical writing, from manuals to training. Whole industries are built up around teaching people how to do things. Just check out YouTube. You can go there and find all kinds of process analyses telling you how to do just about everything under the sun. So what does a good thesis statement look like for an UIM kosher paper? What would you try to write in your exams? Well, remember, the key here is to set out a step-by-step process that shows how something happens. Now, the one odd UIM requirement is that you're still locked into the standard 5-paragraph form for exam essays. So whatever topic you tackle, you need to plan to split it into 3 general steps. It doesn't matter if it actually would take 15 general steps. You need to figure out how to say it in 3 general steps because you've got to fit that into the 5-paragraph standard. So here's an example of what something like that might look like. When preparing the body for examination day, students should seek to get a good night's rest, eat a breakfast filled with protein, and drink plenty of water to stay hydrated. So it's a step-by-step process. First, you get the good night's rest. Then you eat a breakfast filled with protein, and finally you make sure you drink water throughout the day in order to stay hydrated. So it's very clear that it's a process, it's step by step, and we've got the 3 basic delineations. So unpacking that a little further, what does it look like? Well, there's not a wide variation of organization in process essays. I mean, there's some, but how many ways can you rearrange step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, etc., and have it still actually make sense? So you generally stick to that basic organization. You start at the beginning and you go to the end. The main difference is often length, determined by the number of steps needed to complete the process and by the parameters of the assignment that you've been given. Again, remember, UIM has a limit on 3 body paragraphs, 5 overall, so you got to break it down into 3 steps. Your introduction, once again, the infamous funnel type beginning with the hook. You've got your thesis statement. You identify what the process is, and then in your plan of development, you say step 1, step 2, step 3. Now, of course, you do not actually use the words step 1, step 2, step 3, but it should be very clear that whatever this process is, this is the first thing you do, this is the second thing you do, this is the third thing that you do. Main body paragraph 1, step 1. Main body paragraph 2, step 2. I know you were shocked to see that main body paragraph 3 is also step 3. The conclusion is the same, reverse funnel type. You are so sick, that you've been looking forward to hearing about more about. And then finally, you have the mic drop moment. As you might expect, there are some words, phrases, and signposts that you might find useful when you're working on your process analysis essays. At the start of the process, phrases like at first, in the beginning, as you start. Well, I don't know that I would use the you, but to begin with, the first step, in the middle of the process, you would as you're going from one to the next. This would be like maybe your second body paragraph. Next, after that, continuing with, the next step is, good transitions. And then at or near the end of the process, maybe body paragraph 3. Finally, toward the end, last step. And as usual, I will put the link to the PDF in the video description for you to examine further. And finally, what are some dangers, pitfalls, and other sorts of things you should look out for when you're writing a process analysis paper? Well, the very first thing I'm going to say is choose a topic that you know well. Especially in your exams, when you don't have access to outside resources, you need to actually really understand what the different steps are before you're going to be able to describe them properly. So if you're not comfortable with a particular topic that seems to lean toward a process analysis, I think I would look for another. Next, make sure that you do not include any actual steps for the process in the introduction or the conclusion. Now, I'm not talking about the very brief mentions that you make in your plan of development or in your evidence summary. Those are fine. I'm talking about actual described steps telling people, do this in order to make that happen. That needs to be reserved for the main body paragraphs, one step per paragraph. Next, do not literally list off and label any steps as steps in this kind of process essay. Your prose should make all of that clear for you. So don't put a list in the middle of your essay that says step 1, step 2, step 3, Don't put that in your plan of development. Step 1 is this, step 2 is that, step 3. Just talk about it in such a way that it's clear you do this first, then you move to the next step, then you move to the next one. I just used the word step, but you know what I mean. Use those transition words that we talked about on the previous slide to show that when you have completed what you are doing here, you need to move on to the next stage in the process. And then finally, and this isn't going to be something that is going to affect you on exams, but I'll just add it in there, be very careful with this type of essay in a public forum. Poor process analysis essays are the stuff that lawsuits are made of. And what do I mean by that? If you put out a process step-by-step how-to guide to do something, and then someone follows your steps and hurts themselves, or injures their finances or hurts someone else, then it is very possible that they could come after you in a lawsuit to try to say that you caused them harm due to negligence or whatever. So be careful with that type of essay, that you make sure that you explain things clearly and that you tell people sometimes, do not try this at home, whatever you think is necessary. All right, well, I hope you've enjoyed our look at process analysis essays and that you have a good day.